We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, episode 109. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place, one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts, three aspiring sellouts, Chad, Michelle, and Garrett. Hello and welcome to the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. Podcast is all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. I'm your host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as always, faithful co-host Chad Kukahiko. Here we are on another Sunday afternoon. Believe it or not, people who are longtime listeners of the show, all of our segments today, neither one of us is talking about Game of Thrones. Crazy.
Well, you sort of will at the end, though. So
yeah. Well, I mean, actually, no. I'm actually going to talk. I'm not even going to talk about the show at the end. I have in my things now. I'm going to mention something that's tangentially related, but not even really all that much. But it is coming out tonight. But what are we supposed to say about that?
Yeah,
it's coming out tonight.
So we'll see. We'll see then. I don't think until then there's really any point to discuss it. You know what I mean? Because
except to say, are you excited? I'm pretty excited.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Because, I mean, and it's hilarious. Onion article. Somebody posted on my Facebook wall. My friend Keith Turner posted on my Facebook wall that everybody in the world, there's an article in the Onion. It says the United States is glad that the insufferable book readers of the Game of Thrones are now can have to just shut up because this goes beyond the scope of the books. So, right. And I'm a huge fan of the book. So I don't know. I just, to be honest with you, there's a lot of things I really love about the show. There's a lot of things I don't love about the show. And so I don't know. I'm just hope they, I'm curious what the story is. The thing that I know for a fact is that every single thing that's happening on the show, I will have to take with a grain of salt regarding whether or not it's actually going to happen in the books, because so many things have already happened that are totally, totally different.
Correct. So
I don't even know. Like, do you think this is the last season? Do you think the next season's the last season? What do you think about that?
I don't think this is the last season at all. I think that I think that HBO is going to try and milk this. I think that they probably want to do 3 or 4 more seasons. Depending on how this goes, next season might be the last season. I think that there's no way this is the last season.
So you think next season might be the last, but they might even go another season after that?
It depends on how this season goes, because while it is still a pop culture phenomenon and it is still an awards show darling and all those other things that Game of Thrones has always been, we're doing a whole segment on it now, aren't we?
That's hilarious. For not talking about it, we sure are talking about it a lot.
Yeah. But it is receiving more and more severe criticism season by season, not just from fans of the book, but also from just people in general who are sort of sick of the whole grimdark storytelling thing. And so I don't know. It's like it's all kind of up in the air, and who knows how it's all going to shake out. But we're not actually doing a segment on it. So let's
hilariously
let's do our actual segments on it. So we begin as always with general news, and we have a title for the new SpiderMan solo movie starring Tom Holland, and it is called SpiderMan Homecoming. And for some reason, the internet has lost its collective mind over this. People have rushed to a snap judgment that this movie is not going to be very good. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, sometimes I am this person, right? Sometimes I'm in the camp. Almost from the first trailer, I was very skeptical of Batman v Superman, for example. And people know that I have continued to be very critical of Batman v Superman. But at this point, literally all we have is a title and a logo, and people think that the logo doesn't look good, therefore the movie is going to be trash, which doesn't completely make sense to me. And
I think like talking smack is kind of the internet's main purpose.
Well, it's so much easier to say how bad something's going to be than to talk about how good something is, right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely know that because I'm not like a reviewer of things, but I have done book reviews and I've done film reviews. And it's much easier to create an interesting article about how bad something is than it is to create an interesting article, or in my case, like a YouTube video, for example, about how good something is. Because what more are you supposed to say other than, yeah, it was really great. I liked it, you know, like Movie Bob. If you know his YouTube channel, his reviews where he just hates the movie or the TV show, because he reviews TV shows as well. Those reviews are the best reviews. They are hilarious. He comes up with so many amazing turns of phrase for how shit-stained and fucking terrible these movies are, that you die laughing. His review of Batman v Superman is just one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time. And then when it's really, really good, it's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, Movie Bob. I guess, you know, it doesn't stick in the mind that well. Anyway, based on the design of the movie's logo and the title of Homecoming, which nobody knows what that actually means, people are like, oh, this is gonna be crap. It's like they're ignoring that the Marvel team is creating this one. I don't know. It seems like quite a snap judgment. Maybe this is gonna be the movie that breaks the Marvel chain, or maybe it's another one that I'm going to talk about in my next segment, but you go ahead with yours first.
Yeah, I mean, if that's okay, I'd like to stick around on this for a tiny bit before I move on to mine. I agree with you that a lot of people, and you know, whether I agree with you or not, it's irrelevant. But I think, on the other hand,
it means something to me, Chad. It means a lot.
You don't even know what I'm saying yet. Nope. The people do pan stuff, but fanboys are not afraid to show excitement when they really feel it. I think personally, I think that it's hard to get really excited about Spider-Man because I feel like people feel like they've been burned too many times.
Oh, we have,
their property. So but I agree with you. I mean, I think putting Kevin Feige at the helm, and this I think I will. I mean, I'm going to talk more sort of about this. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I want to talk about world building, but I'm going to wait till I start talking about the Inhumans a little bit further down. Anyway, let's jump on to my next segment, actually. So it's a little segue. We'll get back to what I was about to say in a moment. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
Okay, so I've read 2 different articles this past week. One of them was obviously completely clickbait about how Amazon gets a bad rap when compared to Netflix. Now, thankfully, the second one that I read, the one that just came out yesterday, from UK's The Independent, it's a bit more thorough, and they actually show some statistics, such as, for instance, that Amazon Prime actually has 4 times as many titles in it as Netflix in terms of total titles.
What?
Yeah, total titles.
Wow.
Though a lot less original content. Like Netflix is putting a lot of money behind original content in a way that Amazon is not. So Amazon is picking up other people's stuff, whereas Netflix is letting it go. Anyway, but the important part here is that neither article talks about Amazon's complete failure at creating a decent desktop UX design, user experience design. Now, you've tried the Amazon Fire Stick, right?
I like it quite a lot. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, and I've also seen the Kindle app, and the Kindle app for the Prime Video is actually also quite good. Like if you watch it, even if you watch it on an Android device, but their desktop experience is still crap. It's absolute crap. It's awful. Have you tried to watch Prime in a browser?
No, I have not. I do not. I do not view my content that way.
It's not. Well, you watch Netflix though, right?
Yeah, but only on a mobile device or on my TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I don't own a TV. I haven't owned a TV in 11 years. So everything I watch is on my computer. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people use desktops and stuff. And so you watch Netflix, their user experience is pretty universal across every single device, including the desktop. For people like me, I don't have a TV. I don't use the Fire Stick. I don't use these other things. And occasionally I'll watch stuff on my tablet, but I really want to watch stuff on my big 27-inch screen at the house, set up like a TV in my living room. And their user experience for the desktop is awful. And they're not fixing this. And why? I have no idea. I mean, they're Prime users. I'm a Prime customer. I pay for Prime, so I would just get it for free if I felt like diving into the mess that is their desktop user experience, but I don't. I mean, they actually advertise to me They want me to watch something I'm already paying for. I mean, that's not, and I don't know if you heard about this, but just last week, they announced that they're going to be separating out a private. So if you don't want to get the Prime stuff, like the free shipping and stuff like that, you can just get their standalone video service.
Okay.
It's cheaper. You can actually move your regular Prime to a monthly as well, or you can get this monthly, and it's actually it's even cheaper than Netflix if you in terms of like the high def content. But I don't see how people are necessarily going to use it. I mean, maybe on these devices, maybe on the like you have the. Are you now? I know you use the Fire Stick, but are you actually a Prime member?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you get all the content for free. So so for people like that might help.
You say all the content. It's surprising how much all of the content is not actually all of the content.
What do you mean?
There's just I don't know. I make it feel okay. So the original content that they create, yes, you get that with Amazon Prime. But then it's sort of like it's always like, oh, you're looking through the list of like shows that are available through Amazon Video, and you're like, I love that show. Oh, I have to pay for that one. Like, there's a lot of stuff that it sort of like puts right in front of you, where it's like, hey, welcome to Amazon Video. Don't you want to watch the latest season of Star Wars Rebels? Fuck yeah, I do. Awesome. Just buy it from us, and you can totally watch it.
I wonder if that's like if they took that into consideration on this independent article. I'm going to link to it in the thing. They kind of glibly pass over it, but they list like 4 times the content.
Well, that's the thing is I think that a lot of that, when you said that, I was like, I think a lot of that content, it includes the content that you have to pay for.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that would be.
I think these people might be being paid off by Amazon here. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. Well, at any rate, I mean, whether they actually, when I read that clickbait one, I absolutely thought that. I was like, these guys got paid to say this. Anyway.
Actually, it's about ethics in streaming video journalism.
Yes, that's what this.
Gamergate joke. Gamergaters out there.
But what I really want to know is when Amazon is actually going to fix its freaking desktop user experience.
Right.
You could have all the best content in the world, and but in this, the highly competitive world of original content in 2016, you need to step up your game and fix your freaking desktop user experience. Yeah. All right, that's it. I'm done.
All right. Just as a quick note, because I actually forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, if you are watching us live, and I see 4 little invisible people out there who happen to be watching the show, if you drop a comment on the YouTube channel, I am on the YouTube page where the video is playing. I am keeping an eye on it, and we can answer your questions online. Become part of the show. Hey, you never know. You might become a co-host, but you won't. That's not going to happen. We don't. It's not a thing that we do.
But we do need to change the thing at the front, at least while we haven't sort of officially announced this. Michelle is on hiatus from Film Geeks until
but the other thing isn't official yet, so we're not going to announce that or talk about that.
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say that. I was just saying this. So we don't know what the fall is in terms of date, but she's traveling all over the country on the weekends with the relativity school recruitment that she's been doing. So she's just too busy. She's not going to be in town enough. So you will not see her
traveling around and having fun and like having a good career and stuff.
Yeah.
Stupid. I can't wait until she comes. I want to hear about everything. Yes. All right. So on the flip side of what I was saying before, and judging movies before they have come out, the more details we get about the Doctor Strange movie, the more problems I have with it.
No, really?
Yeah.
What are you hearing?
Okay. So here's the thing. So first of all, we are starting from the baseline of a story where a white guy makes a journey of spiritual discovery and becomes the master of a magical art that has existed for thousands of years in another culture, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a baseline. That's a storyline that just at its foundation is very problematic, and we have a lot of stuff like that, like the white person kind of like goes native and is suddenly better at everything than the actual natives. Okay, so you're starting from that baseline, and we all get that. It's the same thing that Doctor Strange has and Iron Fist has and everything. But when people were initially like getting super critical of this movie, I thought that it wasn't coming from that so much as it was coming from this like weird place where people seem to like hating Benedict Cumberbatch. I have just found that to be true on the internet, is people like hating him because he looks funny to them, or he looks, just not like a typical dude. Like he's very, very skinny. His facial features are just not like what you would call classically attractive. And I just thought that was like really, really stupid, because I love him. I love his acting. I love what he does. And from everything that I have seen, he doesn't seem like a douchebag off the camera, right? Like he seems like a really great guy. But whatever, people like hating things for whatever reason. They like hating them. So I thought that's where that was coming from. But it turns out that the film has taken quite a few steps beyond its original already semi-problematic storyline. Not only have they like whitewashed the cast a lot, to the degree that the Ancient One, which is a character that's this old Tibetan master of magic, that character has been cast as Tilda Swinton, who is the whitest thing since Clorox. Like she's not just white. She's like, pretty much alabaster. It's crazy. But the entire film, and the entire setting of it has been removed from Tibet entirely and placed in Nepal instead. And a writer of the film, or maybe it was a low-level producer, I couldn't, I actually could be wrong about that. But a high up on the film just admitted in an interview, listen, we did this as a conscious decision so as not to piss off China, because China does not want you acknowledging Tibet's existence. China does not want anybody talking anything about Tibet or the state of Tibet or how things are. So if a person in modern society goes to Tibet, you're immediately stepping into a political morass and just with landmines waiting under every rock. Although, considering how incredibly white the cast is, you have to wonder why they kept it in Asia at all. But whatever. They're going to go to this ancient mystical city in the clouds where, like literally everybody is looks like they could have come off of Madison Avenue in New York. But this was like a deliberate attempt to, still be able to tap into the massive Chinese film market, which is where these films do make so much stupid amounts of money.
Yeah.
So I suppose that a conscious but bad decision is probably preferable than like complete ignorance of the issue at all. Like if they were just like, oh, well, we didn't even know like that was a thing that people were like, I'm glad that they're not ignorant about it. And I guess I prefer a bad decision that like you can sort of understand the motivations behind it. But it is a slap in the face to a lot of people, especially with in a lot of the talk that's happening around diversity. A lot of people seem to forget that, think that it's only about African Americans and African American actors and directors and making the industry more acceptable and accessible to African Americans, and that is absolutely a thing that should happen. But it's not like we can just address that and just pretend that other races, Asian Americans, Latino, all that sort of stuff like doesn't exist. So I still really want to see Benedict Cumberbatch play Doctor Strange. I just know that it's going to be harder for me. So I feel like Iron Man kind of embraced the political difficulties that it was dealing with, right? It was talking about American arms companies funding conflict in the Middle East. And it just kind of stepped into that. Now, of course, you could say that its portrayal of Middle Eastern people wasn't that great, but and there's points to be made either way for that. Like you could also say that it was like, yes, there were bad guys, but yes, there were also good guys. And this steering away and just like trying not to do anything that would be considered politically too much of a hot topic just seems to have sort of made the situation worse in my eyes. So it's going to be a slightly more problematic movie than I wanted it to be, I guess.
What's weird about that is like they cast Idris Elba as Heimdall.
Uh-huh.
They're casting Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie in Thor 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're clearly not afraid of going the other direction.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It's weird that they're whitewashing. By the way, speaking of whitewashing, have you seen the white savior Barbie picture?
No. Oh, yes, I have. They're so good.
They're so funny. They are so ridiculously funny.
Oh,
Sorry,
God.
just a little tangent, but anyway, I just
Open another tab as you're watching
that.
this show. Open another tab and look it up. Yeah,
White savior Barbie. Oh my God, so funny.
I don't know. It's hard to say exactly sort of where that stems from. I think that this one in particular is just I think that Asian Americans really are considered in a lot of ways to be, I don't know. I feel like if you just wanted to, I feel like a better solution, still a very like problematic one or whatever, would have been, why not just move the setting to China? Because then you could still have your ancient Asian mysticism and all that sort of thing if you really want to do all those tropes. But then you can include, and it's like, and somebody I saw somebody who was like, yeah, but who could play the ancient one? And like Tilda Swinton's a great actor, and she can just bring this gravitas and this skill to that role. And like, who would you cast to do it? And I'm just right off the top of my head, I'm like, why don't you cast Chow Yun-fat? I don't think he's doing anything these days. He doesn't seem like crazy busy. I'm sure he's making, I'm sure he's making.
And there are
films.
so many. I mean, there are so many.
But they're like, but like, who else has like market power? And like, I would say that to a lot of people, Chow Yun-fat probably has more name recognition than Tilda Swinton, because Tilda Swinton is an amazing actress, but she's not some blockbuster, crowd drawing name, even though we've talked endlessly about how the crowd drawing name isn't even that much of a thing anymore. I don't know. It's all kind of a mess.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I hope you're wrong, because I'm a big fan of.
Oh no, I think it's going to be a great movie. I just think that I'm going to have these thoughts in the back of my mind while I'm watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those. But tell us about another Marvel thing.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel, Marvel has officially pulled its Inhumans film from their upcoming lineup. What's interesting and a little sort of not shady, I'll explain, is earlier this month, like just a few weeks ago, Kevin Feige had announced that it was being pushed from November 2018 to somewhere in 2019, up against apparently the new Indiana Jones movie, Warner Brothers' new Indiana Jones movie, which was announced recently as well. But a few days ago, he announced that it was getting pulled from the lineup entirely. And the reason behind it is because he didn't want it to compete with Indiana Jones. So what? You know what I mean? Like, why did he put it there in the first place? Clearly it just seems to me like both of the moves were a part of the exact same process. Like, it just, they wanted to do it in a manner that they think people are it's gonna cause the least controversy. The Inhuman storyline has been kind of continuing on ABC's The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I have not been following it lately. I don't know have you been watching the show at all?
No, I catch it every once in a while because Megan's really into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't watched it since I can't remember Ward. Since Ward kind of escaped once they got him, and then he escaped again. So I don't, or whatever. It was more complex than that. What I mean.
No, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what season that was. If that was last season or the season right before that, but I haven't watched it since then. It was interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't. What's particularly interesting is because the Marvel Cinematic Universe split from the TV universe in a very kind of weird but controversial way. When it sounded like Disney kind of saved Kevin Feige from the other sort of bigwigs at the Marvel Comics, who were kind of running sort of the whole thing. Kevin Feige was sort of the main producer, right. But they kind of yanked him out and said that, okay, we're going to separate this. And so now Feige runs by himself the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and all those other guys are running the TV world, and they're not hooking up the way that they used to. So. Right. So this is not a huge shock, because the Inhumans are something that are really playing out more on TV than they are in the movies. So
that's what I was going to say is I wonder how much of this stems from the fact. And also, I do know from what I have read in the comics, the Inhumans just aren't being handled. It's a pretty significant departure from my experience of the Inhumans. Like most of the Inhuman storylines that I know about center on the freaking moon, you know, like that's where the Inhuman storylines take place. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just isn't really doing that. And maybe that's something that like, maybe that's the original direction that he wanted to go. And now it's just sort of like, yeah, but I would have to do so much work on the TV show in order for these to make sense together at all. And he doesn't even have control over it. I wonder how much of that plays into it.
I mean, I think this is the thing, is that the genius of Feige, and whether it's been purely him or if it's been more of a community thing or whatever, but the genius of him, you know, I've met lots of people who were like, I don't go for those movies. There's a bartender that serves us a lot at the Culver City in the ArcLight Culver City. His name's Matt. And then there's and then a good friend of mine, Daryl Stevens. Neither of them are fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's been difficult for me to kind of explain, I guess, exactly what it is about the MCU that I love so much. And I just thought of it today. I just realized it today. It's the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The world building is incredible. You know what I mean? And it's Captain America is the same Captain America in every single movie. Mm-hmm. You know, it's this, and this is what DC Extended Universe is getting so wrong. They're like not even bothering to build the world.
Nope.
And that is why the MCU is so successful, because they build the movies. Don't even necessarily, they're not even as standalone movies necessarily that good. You put any of them up against Dark Knight Returns, they're not as good as individual movies, but it's the way that they work together to create this one universal world that is intriguing people so much, you know, myself included. And that's what a lot of people don't really, you know, and when you already are a fan of that world based on the comic books, I don't know if you can see anything that's happening right now, but my dog.
All I see is your hands moving back and forth a lot, and they're below the level of the camera. So, you know, I just was going to let things happen as they happened and not say anything.
My dog is like, he just wants to be a part of my life right now. And I'm trying to continue as he's like, oh, I'll be in your front. Okay, now I want to go behind you on the chair. Anyway, so that's what's going on if you're watching this. He's cute, but he's sitting behind me on the chair now. Anyway, that I think is the thing. And if you don't have an appreciation for world building, you're probably never really going to like the MCU. You know what I mean? But for the people that do, that is why they like it. You know what I mean? Each of these individual movies, people have their individual reasons. Personally, I'm not a really big fan of the Thor movies. I'm not. I don't really care for any of them. They just don't appeal to me. But I like what they tell me about the world as a whole, and I'll still watch them. But I particularly love the Captain America movies. The last one too, so good. Winter Soldier. I mean, I love those 70s political thrillers. Yeah, and you know, it was totally sort of in that vein, and it was fantastic. That is, in my opinion, that's the best movie. But even though as an individual movie, I don't really think it's as good as the Dark Knight. Dark Knight's a better movie to me. But but that world lasted 3 movies, and that was it. And this world is massive, and it even to some degree is spreading onto the TV show, into the individual different TV shows, and that's exciting to see that. It's so, I don't know what it is about. I mean, to me, it seems so like, vast.
It's like it's the difference between I don't know how to put this, but I talk a lot about the difference between what we consider the best and what we consider our favorite, right? So I know that the Lord of the Rings films aren't the best films ever made, but they are my favorite films ever made. And the difference is that it's not just about the films, it's about what stretches beyond the films in our own minds, right? Like what we have going on in the universe surrounding the films, in even just like in our own imagination as fans, makes them a better experience than they are just in and of themselves in the filmmaking, which is of course not, you know, the filmmaking is not bad. It's very good. I mean, Return of the King won like all of the Academy Awards, but again, I don't think that's because it's like you know, it's just not, it's not just about the film itself. It's about the world beyond it.
Yeah. Jared Bogosian just posted a comment, says every time
Oh,
Chad
what
says,
an asshole.
every time Chad says Feige, his erection grows stronger. Thank you very much, Jared Bogosian. Hilarious.
Notice how Chad's camera angle is slowly moving up and up and up. That's the desk rising. We should get into the main topics.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go first here, because we have another serious main topic, and I just wanna get mine out of the way before we do that, so that it's not trying to follow something more serious. I want to talk about interactivity, because I think it's a big deal. So we have been talking a lot. I think it really started sometime in the last year about the growth of virtual reality. Chad, you're a big fan.
Yep.
What's the virtual VR device that you have that you're all bonered about?
It's not that I'm bonered about it. It's that it's pretty much the only thing that's out that is self-sufficient. It's the Gear. Actually, I have it right here. It's my Samsung Gear VR, which works with my Samsung Galaxy. I just got this S7 Edge, so I had to buy a new Gear VR when I did. So yeah, Samsung Gear VR. That's the one.
Yeah, and so interactivity is kind of one of the key features of VR, and not the feeling of not just being able to interact like you do in like a normal, let's say a normal video game, but a feeling of actually being there and being present and being part of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people are looking more and more for that sense of being a part of what's happening. And I think that that's especially true with super fans. So I went to Austin a couple of weeks ago when we had our little 2-week break. It was one was because I was in Austin, one was because Chad was in Hawaii. And in Austin, I was hanging out with a group of people, and we all said what our like our superpower is. Like not like if we could choose a superpower from comics, like what would it be, but like what's our actual sort of superpower, like the thing that we're really, really good at in real life. And everybody was going around and saying what theirs was, and I was like, I don't even know what it was going around the circle, and I was like, what the hell is mine? And then I sort of realized when it did come around to me that my superpower is being like a crazy fanboy. More than anybody else at that table at that time, I was a super fan of stuff. Nobody else there. I said, who here has ever been to a midnight premiere of a film, of some film, a Marvel film or something like that? Nobody had. Like that's just the thing that super fans do, that you do when you're a huge fan of something. Nobody had ever been to a Ren fair. Some of the people there didn't even know what cosplay was. And then they knew that it existed, but they didn't even know like that word. And they definitely didn't know that there were entire cosplay conventions, or that it was a culture, or that like some people were like professional cosplayers. Like that was beyond their knowledge. Now, I am obviously not a professional cosplayer, but I know a lot about that culture, right? So when and like I brought up the example, like on my books, on the new art that I'm doing for the new covers of some of my new books that are coming out, I'm actually designing the covers and the characters on those covers with that in mind. I'm like, I want a costume that people could actually wear like to a convention, because the existing covers or my previous covers or whatever, that just wasn't a factor, and I couldn't afford an artist who could actually like bring that reality, like bring that into reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so it all ties into that sense of being part of what's going on. And another way that people can feel very much like they are a part of what's going on is interactivity, not just with the story and the world itself, but with creators. And that is like, I feel like that's one of the most important things about online media culture and fan culture and places like YouTube, is feeling like you're part of what's going on. You know, John and Hank Green, Vlog Brothers, my personal BFFs, they have a thing that they do on their channel very regularly called just Question Tuesday. And people, they say, hey, we need questions for next Question Tuesday. And people jump in and they ask questions. And then those questions are the next video. The next video on Tuesday is them reading the questions with the person's name, and they usually show the actual comment where the question is, and then they answer the question. And they have a podcast now, Dear Hank and John, and that's the podcast. The entire podcast is people writing them emails asking for advice on things. Sometimes it's funny. It's like, I trapped a fly in between my window and the screen leading outside, and I'm so terrified that if I open the window to let the airflow through, the fly's going to come in, or the bee or whatever. But if I don't open it, and then sometimes they ask about like serious like life stuff that's going on, and it's all basically created by and then responded to the fans. So recently, Chad and I were talking about this a little bit off screen, and recently my stuff's been doing pretty well, and I've been able to put more attention on building my audience and building the number of people on my email list. Which, oh my God, I'm just telling you, if you're an independent artist, you have to get a list of people who want to, like experience your stuff so that you can email them when you release something new. It has literally been making like such a massive difference in my career. And I've been doing things like growing my Facebook page and my Facebook group, and it's all still burgeoning, but it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. And what has made the difference in growing those things and in not just having like a bigger group of people and readers and fans, but a better group of readers and fans and all that sort of thing is interaction. When somebody signs up for my email list, they get a few like sort of automatic emails, just sort of like catching them up on like who I am. Like when they sign up, they get an ebook copy of like my first book for free, right? And then there's another email a couple of days later asking them a question about fantasy books and everything like that. And then there's another email after that. And the third email is like designed to sort of get them to send me a response, to like reply to the email and say something to me. And as soon as that email comes to me, I always respond as quickly as I can. If it comes in the middle of the night, obviously I wait until the morning, but I respond as quickly as I can. I just send them a little, 100 word email. And they're always like, oh my God, I can't believe you actually like wrote me like a personal email. I'm like, of course, you're reading my books. I want to talk to you. I want to find out what you think and how do you like them and everything. And that level of interactivity is something that indies can do a lot more easily. Like there is fan interaction on mainstream culture. There are panels at comic conventions and film and TV conventions and all that sort of thing. But it's not the same. And online forums and all that sort of thing. When traditional media and traditional creators, when they do get involved in those sort of scenarios, they don't do it the way that they're not as nimble or as skilled at interacting with their audience as we can be as indies. So that is just something that I think it's really, really important is building your audience, continuing to grow your audience and stay available and interact with them, because that's how people who are sort of interested in what you're doing become fans who will stick around and listen the next time you put out your new web series or your feature film, or in my case, my books or whatever. So that's my tip for the week is being more interactive with your people.
Early on, when we first started doing this, I think we were discussing that 1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
Benchmark. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, it was something that sort of popped up in the Chris Anderson world. Chris Anderson is the writer who wrote The Long Tail, and what 1,000 true fans is sort of the benchmark at which, at least back when this first started, they were saying the people I'm sure Chris Anderson was a big part of it, but also other people who were following him and whatnot. They were saying that if you have 1,000 true fans, you can be completely self-sufficient as an artist. Yeah. And a true fan is somebody who will buy anything that you put out just because your name is on it. And the kind of interaction that you're talking about is the kind of thing that can take sort of a fan, just kind of likes your stuff, into a true fan. You know what I mean? Someone who will occasionally pay attention to what you're doing, into somebody who you brought them into the fold. You made them feel like they're important, and you made them feel like they're part of in essence, sort of part of the family, right, of your you know, whatever it is your content is, etc. And that's a really important move that a lot of people don't really sort of take into consideration. Obviously, when you're huge, when you blow up and you're getting millions and millions of tweets sent to you, etc., you're not going to be able to do that at the same level, but you still should do it on occasion. And you see a lot of people like The Rock, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They build these reputations for being just awesome, wonderful people because they do this, because they continue the interactions with their community.
Yeah, exactly. I think that people feel like once they get to a certain level, that it's just that they don't want to kind of show favoritism by interacting with anybody. But there's ways that you can do it, which I think most fans will sort of understand isn't really showing favoritism or whatever, and still really helps to build the community. When John and Hank put out 2 videos on their channel a week. John makes one, Hank makes one. And whenever the video drops, for the first couple of hours, they're in the comments of the video and they're answering. So like the first comment that gets posted, they answer it. If it's a substantive comment that they can actually, like, you know, interact with and say something meaningful about.
Yeah, not like first.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Although there are some times where they go, you clever person, you, or something like stupid and snarky like that, right?
Right.
And that's just a cool little thing. And so it makes people, when a new video pops, they go to the page and they watch it and they start commenting as fast as they possibly can, because they want to talk to them. And if I catch it later in the day or the next day or whatever, I know that I'm not gonna get interaction with them, but it's cool going through and seeing what they have said in response to other people. So
right.
It's an important thing for creators to keep in mind. Right.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and dig into mine just because.
Let's do it.
Just because.
Done.
So these past couple weeks have been particularly tough for We Make Movies. If you watched last week's show, you'll know why. The story continued over the course of last week, and amongst other things, an accusation was made that we spent more time on our last show on the public shaming segment than on the sexual harassment segment, which I was like, that's absolutely ridiculous. But I went back and timed it out, and I was correct. We spent 15 full minutes on the harassment part, and then just over 6 minutes on the public shaming part, and that is 250%. So it's a lot more time we spent on the harassment, which was appropriate. But it's particularly galling to me that we have to be having that conversation at all.
Right.
I mean, obviously, it would be wonderful if neither existed, if people just didn't sexually harass one another, didn't publicly shame one another. This is obviously the goal. But community building is the responsibility of the entire community. You know, sadly, we live in an imperfect world, and people do stupid things sometimes. They do thoughtless things and for their own bad behavior, because people are basically good. I mean, I honestly believe that most people are basically good. So because they don't like to feel like they're being a dick, they want to blame other people for the things that they're doing. And that's human nature, that urge, that desire to kind of blame others and sort of twist the truth ever so slightly so that it makes you feel a little bit less like the asshole you are being in any particular moment. You know, like you did a bad thing, but it was because somebody else did something even worse that gave you no actual choice. You had to do that, you know, and that's part of human nature that really honestly needs to be resisted. It might make you feel better in the moment, but it does not help you build and nurture a community. And that is what We Make Movies is in truth. It's a community. Yes, there's a corporation at the heart of this community, and you know, it's not a profitable corporation, to be completely honest, at least not yet. And though we do have plans to one day split into a for-profit company, and on the one hand, and a nonprofit, doing all the more sort of charitable things on the others, those forms are basically irrelevant to what we actually are. What we actually are, despite the legal form, is a community. And a community is not a top-down type organization. It's not like the military with the chain of command. It's an organization of peers. And you get out of it what you put into it. And I'm constantly getting shit about saying that we have no rules. You know, I say that at most of our meetings. But okay, sure. If you want to nitpick, yes, we have rules. But we're not animated by those rules. They don't sort of decide things for us. I mean, sure, we have certain agreed upon rules just to help us get things done, but that doesn't actually motivate us. What actually motivates us is our agreed upon values.
Yeah.
And it's exactly these values, our acceptance as a group of these values, that makes us a community. The value, for instance, that we really, really need to start paying attention to more than any other is, I mean, at least right at this particular point in time, is make it fun while you make it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not make it fun for yourself and fuck everybody else while you make it. It's make it fun while you make it. Make it fun for everybody if you can. I mean, obviously that's impossible. You're not going to be able to make it fun for absolutely everybody 100% of the time. It's just impossible to do that. That's obvious.
Whatever. I do that every time.
Sure. But you can try. You can give it. I mean, unless you're a legitimate, actual sociopath, you know, it's probably, you know, for whom it's probably a lot of fun when it sucks for other people, you know. But if you're a regular human being, you probably want other people to enjoy themselves as well. So that's, you know, anyway, that's what we are. We are those types of people, hopefully sociopath free, as sociopath free as we can be. And look, I'm going to give you a really stupid example. I'm not going to compare this to any of this. Obviously, it's a stupid minor example. So, and actually somebody told me about it this week. I never really thought of it this way. But if you cheer, as I'm saying the values at a workshop, when you know that I legitimately hate it, and I do actually hate it, it's no joke. If you've watched this show, you know that. You know that I hate it. If you cheer and you are knowingly making it not fun for me, now, I mean, you should know why I hate it. I mean, I think it's more of an annoyance, really. It's not a big deal. I don't like it because it comes off weird to me and a little culty, probably, to all the new people in the room. And I think it actually distracts from the actual values themselves. So you're not even letting people listen to the actual values themselves. But again, I'm not going to slip my wrists over it. It's basically a minor annoyance, but it's these kinds of things, you know. And again, please do not think for half a second that I'm equating this to sexual harassment or public shaming. Neither. This is minor, but it is, you know, it's exactly these kinds of things. This is an illustration of how when we ignore these small things, we are actually sort of creating an environment in a community in which we can then start to ignore these bigger things. And that is, you know, it is the responsibility of every single member of our community to help build it on a moment-to-moment basis. And these, again, it's a stupid minor little thing, but I really did wish you'd stop cheering. I do, please do. Again, it's minor, does not compare to sexual harassment. And if I get that from anybody, please just go fuck yourself. Please. I'm sorry. You know, I've said that 17 times right now. I had not a great week. Let's just say that. So, I don't know. That's my point, is these little things. We do have to pay attention to the little minor things. We do have to make sure that we are trying to be as helpful and paying attention to these values as we possibly can, because these values are what make this community a community. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I am absolutely one of the people who cheers. And again, this is such a minor point, but I think that it's good for us to talk about the minor point because I don't think that we really want to spend like 10 or 15 minutes talking about.
It's easier to talk about.
It's way easier to talk about it and just use that as an allegory for other things.
Exactly.
But like, we don't cheer. For me personally, I don't know if other people do, but I don't cheer because I know that you hate it. I know. I legitimately like that. So like my first, like when you're not there and Beardsley reads the values instead, and people cheer, he's woo right along with them, because we like them. We like the values, and we like that whole, it's like the hype man before a public speaking event or something, just to get the crowd jazzed up and ready to experience what's about to go down. And so it's sort of like, and that's when you sort of have to find that balance between, I know you don't like it and I feel really, really bad, but at the same time, if like the people in the room really, really do enjoy that, and that's part of the intro experience for them. But then that's something that people should talk about. That's something that's an actual discussion that should be had.
I don't think people are paying enough attention to the new people.
Right.
And they're more concerned about what makes it fun for them
Right.
than they are for the new people. And I think that, to me, that's the big thing. That's the big difference. You're having fun, fine, whatever. If you really, that's why I'm not, and again,
This is the tiniest of issues. Yeah.
It's such a tiny issue. It's not a big deal. But I think because of all the heavy stuff that's going on right now, it is actually, maybe now is the time that we should start paying attention to the little things, because maybe it's these little things. It's easier to build a house, one bit at a time.
Right.
You start with the foundation, then you build a wall. You know what I mean? You just can't really tackle the big things head first. I think if we start to tackle some of these little stupid things, and again, I don't know, use this information however you want. I love the values. I think it's important, whether it's me, you know what I mean, or anybody else. I want you to be making it fun for everybody if you can. Anyway, I think I've said enough about it. I just think that this was not a fun week. I'm sure it wasn't fun for a lot of people. I know I'm not I haven't had it the toughest in the world. You know what I'm saying? Other people have had it so much worse than me. So I'm just being honest with you, and I feel like to some degree I was just kind of pretending, I was just trying to keep a good, and then just this morning I woke up and you know what? I was like, I told Kendall, I was like, I am legitimately depressed, over specific. And I feel like the fact that I'm just admitting this to myself is helping me to actually go beyond it. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what, I'm not saying that I have had it so much worse than everybody else and blah, blah, blah. I'm not. I'm just saying that, you got to put your own gas mask on first. You know what I'm saying? Then you can start to help other people. But if you're not paying attention to yourself, if you don't care about yourself, you're not going to be of any assistance to anybody else. So anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, yay, another week with the main topics. Oh boy. Groups go through.
I can't wait for the hate. I can't wait. It's gonna come, and yay! Looking forward to it.
The groups go through these things, and everybody has to sort of evaluate their reaction to it and how to move forward within the group. So, but We Make Movies is a really, really, really kick-ass group. It's probably the most kick-ass group that I am a part of. So, yay.
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 Yeah, I'm still, despite any of this stuff, despite any of my feelings, I'm still, I'm full steam ahead. You know what I mean? And it's important it was important. I realized that today, for me to recognize where I am right now in this moment, for me to actually get back to where I was.
Right. All right. Well, with that, we will begin moving towards the end of the show. We end, as always, or we go next to community news. And first, we would like to ask you, as part of the community, whether you're watching this live on YouTube or you're listening on the audio feed afterwards, please do pop over to iTunes, leave us a review and a rating. We love them 4- and 5-star ratings. They do give us life. And reviews just help people find the show. It helps grow the community and it helps bring more awesome people to We Make Movies, which is an awesome place to be, especially if you are looking to get your movies made. This Wednesday is What's Next? Is that right?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I forgot to change that. No, it's Regulars Writers Workshop, actually.
Okay, so it is a Writers Workshop, the event formerly known as something to do on a Wednesday night until you get really famous, but more colloquially known as the Writers Workshop. Come on by the Sacred Fools main stage in Hollywood at 7:30 p.m. We will have a good old time. We have lots of fun things going on. It is the We Make Movies flagship event. So come on by, meet us, have some drinks, have some wine, and get to know the community. And finally, We Make Movies is the only filmmaking group in the world, so far as we know, that is supported by its community, and that happens on Patreon. If you want to become a patron and help the group do all of the stuff that it does for people for free, or to, just help support indie art, you can do that at patreon.com/WeMakeMovies or WeMakeMovies.org/Patreon. If you don't want to do the Patreon thing because you don't want another account and another thing, there's also a PayPal option, which you can do at WeMakeMovies.org. It's on the right-hand side, isn't it, Chad? It's a PayPal.
The PayPal one? I mean, if you just go to WeMakeMovies.org/donate, it's right there.
There you go.
It just depends on what, you know.
There's a big fat donate button on the
Yes.
We Make Movies website. Go check it out. If you want to do like a one-time thing, or you can set up a subscriction. It's all cool if you
Using
don't know
PayPal instead
if you
of
don't know what
Patreon,
this whole Patreon thing is and get off your lawn. That's how you can get us off your lawn. It's just support through PayPal as well, and we much appreciate it because that money is actually being used to make movies, which is great because we make movies. It's there in the name. I don't know if people are aware of that, but there it is. We end as always with things to know. I have a weird little thing to know. Last night I had a party at my place, and I and a few other nerds tucked into a corner of the room while everybody else was doing regular people stuff. We played the Game of Thrones board game, and I had a lot of fun. I know for a fact that at least 3 or 4 other people playing the game did not have fun. It was not up their alley. Oh man, it was so not up their alley at all. It is the most complicated board game I've ever seen in my life. Did you ever read Calvin and Hobbes when you were a kid?
Yeah, of course.
It's the board game equivalent of Calvin Ball. There's so many.
Oh, I don't remember that.
When he and Hobbes would run around playing Calvin Ball, and they made all the fucking rules up as they go. But wait. You're in the no-fly zone, so that means you have to put 1 foot on top of your head and then hop to the Toyota Camry zone where you like, and it's just like, and the game sort of felt like that while we were learning the rules. None of us had played it before. We were learning all the rules as we went, and it was just like, now take your knights and put them in the wildling zone, move the turn marker on the Iron Throne track, and do the. And just, oh man, I want to play it again. It's very, very fun. And with Game of Thrones,
Settlers of Catan?
It is like Settlers of Catan on crack. It has a few similar mechanics, but it bears a lot more in common with Risk, where you build armies and you attack other lands, and it's not like, it's really, one thing that I thought was really amazing about it was that it was a combat-based game. Combat is so important, but there's no dice rolling. There's no dice rolling in the combat whatsoever.
How do you?
It's all mind games, which is Game of Thrones, right? Like in the Game of Thrones universe, luck doesn't play that much of a role. Sometimes it does, but mostly it's your machinations and what you're doing, and you're thinking 3 steps ahead and everything. That's how the fucking game plays, and it's awesome. That's great.
Interesting. You are not. I'll be honest with you. You're not really selling me on it.
It's the sort of thing where, like, I don't even want to try selling people on it. I want to say this is a complicated ass, really weird game with all these different things, and the right kind of person is going to go, that is so far up my alley. I want that shit. You know, it's like a 1-star review on Amazon where it's like, there's too much violence and sex in this, and you're like, excellent. Give me a copy right now.
I mean, I think my thing is, I think Settlers of Catan is the most perfect board game. I'm not the only person who said that. It's like Risk with all the insanity pulled out, and it's like Risk perfected. So if you and you can play it in like an hour, hour 15 at the most. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of fun. Anyway,
we played for 5.5 hours, and we got halfway through one game. Now we were just learning the rules. But I think that now, if we sat down and played it, we could complete a game in about 3 hours. So it's an investment. It's an evening, right? Nope. It's not. Yeah. Nope. So, but to the right person, it is going to be your favorite thing.
I actually have been threatening to get my Last Days board game back up. And I keep thinking about it. Have you ever played that with us?
No.
Yeah, I created a board game for Last Days quite a while ago, and it's actually a lot of fun. I need to get it back up and running. But anyway, let me get on to my thing to know so we don't drag out the show. Yo-Yo, which is a pilot and hopefully an entire series that Jared Bogosian and I are writing together. It is
Jared Bogosian. Where have I heard that name this show?
Yes.
Lurking in the comments.
He loves talking about my penis. It's being read. The second part of our pilot is being read. Did you listen to the first part? Were you there that night?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, come on the Wednesday and you'll see the second part.
I will.
I'm really excited to get the feedback. I'm fairly proud of the work, and the first part was really well received. So I can't wait to see how the second part goes. Also, I just want to really give an awesome shout out to Valentina V, because she She shot a bunch of headshots here, and she provided this opportunity to the We Make Movies community, and also some people outside the We Make Movies community, where people could get these headshots for a very inexpensive rate, and they looked amazing. Yeah. I mean, she's charging. It was a fundraising thing so that she can so that she can build up a little budget for some not side projects, but projects, outreach projects that she wants to do for We Make Movies, which is awesome already. But she's being very proactive and like actually coming up with the funds to fund these projects. And she's providing an awesome, it's like just a win, just 17,000 wins right down, down, and the fact that, a couple people quit last minute, and that's a bummer. But I was really surprised that it felt like it was like kind of pulling teeth for her to even fill up these spots, and we ended up having it wasn't for free. It was
not for free, but for like discounted, really good.
Exactly. And the headshots looked really fantastic. So anyone who had that opportunity and missed the opportunity, bummer. If she does it again, and hopefully she will do it again, jump on it. I promise you will be very happy that you did.
And more cool things happening with Valentina V in the future that we'll probably be talking about on this show.
Hint, hint, hint.
But with that, we have come at last to the end of the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us this Sunday afternoon. Jared and Eric Altman, who also commented and said, make the podcast that you want to see. We have endeavored to do so, Eric. Thank you very much. I'm Garrett Robinson. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Chad can be found online at superfreako.com. We Make Movies is at wemakemovies.org. And we'll see you next Sunday afternoon with another episode of the show. Goodbye.